Hey everybody, welcome back to an all-new episode of 10 to Life with me, Annie Elise. Now the case that we're talking about today is one that I just gotta keep it real. It is super shady. Like, red flags all over the place, so much suspicion. I'm not even trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, okay? It is just that shady. It's the case of Nikki McCain. Now, you might remember we did talk very, very briefly about this a couple of weeks ago on Headline Highlights. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Headline Highlights, it is an audio-only episode that we do every single Thursday. It's exclusive to my podcast, Serialously, which I'll put the cover art right here. It's free. It's on all podcast platforms. You can get anywhere. But basically, every Thursday we do an episode there that does not get cross-posted to YouTube ever. And in it, we talk about breaking cases, case updates, things like that are happening in the week, like brand new updates, just so that you can stay current with everything going on in the true crime world. Because unfortunately, we know there's no shortage there. So anyways, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about this case very briefly, and then after that episode aired, there were a lot of updates. And when we started digging, I was like, okay, the writing is on the wall here. Like, it's pretty obvious what happened, right? It's pretty obvious who's responsible, what's going on. But it is beyond tragic, and it's just infuriating and suspicious, so I'm going to break it all down for you, start to finish. So guys, let's jump right in. Nikki McCain is a 39-year-old woman that has been missing since May 17th. The case was initially investigated by the Redding Police Department after family members had lost contact with her. But now the Shasta County's Sheriff's Office has taken over the investigation. And if Redding PD and Shasta County sound familiar to you, it's because this is the same place where Sherry Papini was living when she faked her kidnapping, when that whole hoax went down. However, this story is nothing like that at all. Just 8 days after she was last seen, her truck was found in Tehama County, but law enforcement didn't say exactly where the truck was found exactly. Now, Nikki, coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, as many people suspect, disappeared right before her husband, Tyler, was set to go to trial this month in July for domestic violence charges that caused injuries, false imprisonment, and terroristic threats. The charges are from an incident that stemmed back in December of 2023, but he was just now going to be going to trial this month. According to court records, going back to the incident a little bit, on December 1st in 2023, the Shasta County Sheriff's deputy responded to Mercy Hospital to speak with a woman who was referred to as a confidential victim. In the report, this deputy said that he immediately noticed facial trauma to both of the victim's eyes. He also noticed some trauma to her forehead and her other facial areas. Specifically, the report says, both of her eyes were blackened severely. Both were swollen in what appeared to be a physical. Now, when the deputy asked this victim who assaulted her, she told him that it was her husband of 13 years, Tyler McCain. The woman told him that Tyler hit her with an open hand 10 to 15 times, hit her in the face with this open hand in this single incident. She also said that the assault took place inside their home. The report goes on to say that the victim told the deputy that she was combing her hair in her bedroom before Tyler returned to their home in this, what she's calling a strange mood, and then locked the back door. Tyler then became extremely agitated and was not making any sense. Then it says, Tyler came to her in the bedroom and immediately jumped on her and held her down on the ground before hitting her in the face in a harsh, forceful manner, pulling her hair and even pouring water on her. This behavior continued for 3 hours. This all according to the report, which during this time, apparently he allegedly bound her ankles and her wrists together and placed tape over her mouth. The victim said that she believed she was going to die. Tyler then turned her over, straddled her, pulled her head back, and told her that he was going to kill her. Tyler allegedly kept hitting her while she was on the ground and even attempted to wrap something around her neck, but thankfully was unsuccessful. The report goes on to say that eventually the victim tried to leave the room, and this is when Tyler jumped on the front of her car and told her not to leave. The report continues saying, the deputy later spoke with Tyler, who confirmed the victim was his wife, Nikki McCain. He said that he was aware of her injuries but did not actually see them. Tyler reportedly told officials that he believed this fight was between his wife and another woman. Tyler's statement sounded inconsistent, and based on the totality of the circumstances and based on the fact that the injuries upon the confidential victim were consistent with that of domestic, nothing was really adding up. So this case started ramping up on social media when the county district attorney's office in court announced that it filed a motion to dismiss the case against Tyler McCain. In a statement, the DA's office said that it made the move due to insufficient evidence because the victim, Nikki McCain, is currently a missing person, and there's also an ongoing investigation into her disappearance, which is just incredibly frustrating. Like, how are you going to drop a case due to insufficient evidence because the victim is missing? Obviously, wouldn't that kind of raise a red flag like, oh, the victim in this case is missing, right when he's set to go to trial? Something clearly is shady and doesn't add up, right? Now, the first update regarding Nikki's actual disappearance is sadly a very small one. Now, remember on May 25th, a week after she went missing, Nikki's 2002 Chevy Avalanche truck was found in Tehama County, which is about an hour and a half south of Shasta County. Now, there are some reports that it was found under a bridge in a mountain pass, but authorities still haven't said exactly where it was found, or if anything significant was found inside the truck, which I'm hoping is because they're working on some kind of strong lead and they just don't want it to leak and they don't want to share it yet, but it's anybody's guess. Now, the next big update is regarding the hearing for Tyler's domestic case, which was set for July 5th. And guys, I'm just going to say, it infuriates me and it breaks my heart to say that this had a pretty unfortunate outcome, because on July 5th, 2024, the Shasta County Superior Court agreed to dismiss the case against Tyler, and he got to walk out of the courthouse happy, free, not given a damn at all about his missing wife. And we kind of suspected that this was the whole reason Nikki disappeared, right? And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But because he had this looming court case, she could have testified against him. So she mysteriously just vanishes right before the hearing. And then, look, it looks like if that was the motive, it worked because happy, dismissed, he gets to walk out a free man.
Do you guys happen to know where Nikki might be?
Now, this news was not only incredibly heartbreaking, but it had social media going absolutely nuts. Because like I said, I think we can all agree that Nikki's disappearance so close to Tyler's trial is just insanely coincidental and beyond shady. And to me, it's pretty much like Tyler knew that if he could get rid of Nikki and do a good enough job where she would never be found, then his case would be dismissed and he could just go about his life as if none of this ever happened. That's just my opinion. It's all alleged, of course, but that's what I'm thinking, and tell me if you agree or disagree. Now, of course, with the justice system in America, everybody is, yes, innocent until proven guilty. So just because we all agree that the chances of Tyler having something to do with Nikki's disappearance are pretty high, justice can't really be served unless there's actual damning evidence against him, whether that be a body, a murder weapon, anything more than what the investigators apparently have now, which seems pretty much like little to nothing. Now, after this decision was made, there wasn't an immediate press conference or statement released to explain the reasoning, which did not work out in Shasta County's favor, because like I said, the internet was pissed, to say the least. And they weren't the only ones. Tons of protesters gathered to rally against the dismissal.
No peace! It's Tyler's on the street! No justice! No peace! It's Tyler's on the street! No justice! No peace! It's Tyler's on the street! No justice! No peace! It's Tyler's on the street! No justice! No peace! It's Tyler's on the street! No justice! No peace! It's Tyler's on the street!
People were flooding the courthouse as well as social media with claims about how the DA was just as guilty as Tyler, and saying that the courts just aren't taking domestic dispute cases seriously. and everyone pretty much saw them as blowing this entire thing off. It also doesn't help that Shasta County is the same place, remember, where Sherry Papini lived during her whole kidnapping hoax, and everyone can't help but look and wonder why the two cases seem to be handled just incredibly differently. Sherry's case took the media by storm. Nikki's case, on the other hand, it isn't exactly going as viral as Sherry's. I mean, just from looking the case up, there is hardly any updates or talks about what is being done to find her. Sherry's case racked up about, $150,000 in local resources that were used to search for her, which was obviously a total complete waste since she faked the entire thing. And Nikki's first official search didn't even happen until 2 weeks after she was missing. And the whole thing was planned by her family and friends, not even the local authorities. Is it pure negligence or lack of care? I mean, there's definitely a lot of cleaning up for Shasta County to do in more ways than one. Now, a few days after this dismissal, an official statement was released by the Shasta County DA, Stephanie Bridget, and this statement read, "I hear the community's pleas for answers and justice for Nikki McCain. I share in those sentiments and frustrations. It's incredible how much our community has rallied together, and we fully support your efforts. Unfortunately, some individuals have been commenting, posting, and sharing information online and to news stations that is inaccurate. Misinformation fuels distrust and disappointment. I assure you that dismissing the domestic case is the best path forward at this time, as it preserves our ability to refile the case once Nikki is located or sufficient evidence is obtained to utilize her statements in her absence. Both the domestic case and missing persons case are being actively worked on by my office as well as the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. The Shasta County Sheriff's Office Major Crime Units is the lead agency on the missing persons investigation. Significant resources are dedicated to both the missing person investigation and the domestic case. My office has one deputy DA assigned to the domestic case, a senior deputy DA to the missing persons case, and a chief deputy DA is overseeing all of the work being done by both. The District Attorney's Bureau of Investigation has been involved in multiple operations to locate Nikki, and we are working closely with the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. We also have an advocate who has been assigned to the domestic case and was working with Nikki up until her disappearance and continues to work with Nikki's immediate family on both the domestic case and the missing person investigation. We know Nikki's disappearance and our decision on the domestic case is upsetting to many of you. I hear your frustrations and your desire for justice. I assure you that I and everyone in my office share your frustrations and your desire for justice, not only in the domestic case, but also in her safe return." Now, I know that that was a lot, guys, and as you can tell by that statement, they knew that they were absolutely getting ripped to shreds online. A lot of people, though, still weren't happy with that statement because, let's be honest, it doesn't really answer very many questions as to why this case was dismissed, only that they had no malicious intent in doing it. And if you do dig into the legal aspects of things, as much as it really sucks to say it, there are arguments for why they did dismiss it. Keep in mind, I am in no way, shape, or form a lawyer. This is all my interpretation of things and my personal research and my personal opinions. So all the lawyer friends out there, correct me if I'm wrong. But here's what seems to be the reason why the case was ultimately dismissed. To put it simply, the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution, because it states that citizens have a series of rights in criminal trials. One of those rights is the right to confront the witness during a trial. In other words, Tyler has the right to confront his accuser, who would be Nikki. Since Nikki is missing and ultimately wouldn't just be popping up at his trial, he no longer has that right. DA Stephanie Bridget has said that apparently there are some very narrow exceptions, but that those exceptions have been looked into, and they unfortunately just don't fit in this case. She also claimed that in dismissing the case and not moving forward without the key witness in her testimony, they're avoiding a possible double jeopardy issue. Which, if you're unfamiliar with the double jeopardy, that means that essentially somebody can't be tried twice for the same crime. So let's just say they moved forward with this domestic case, and Tyler was ultimately found not guilty because they didn't have Nikki's witness testimony. Even if Nikki was found alive or significant evidence was found against Tyler, they wouldn't be able to try him again. Tyler could literally go on the local news and say, "Yep, I did it. Everything that I was accused of, I did it, plus a little bit more." But there would be absolutely nothing that they could do, because he was already tried once and he was found not guilty. So as much as it physically pains me to say this, you can see how the legal aspect of it kind of makes sense. Not to mention the whole other element of them wanting to gather more evidence. We saw something similar, kind of same but different, with the Suzanne Morphew case and Barry Morphew. They had dismissed things so that in the hopes that they would be able to refile in the future once they had more sufficient evidence and things like that. Now, it's just one of the legal things, unfortunately. We don't like to see it, and it is enraging, but it's hopefully a move that is done for the greater good. I don't know. And to hopefully get a conviction later on, assuming he is in fact guilty. Now, of course, I want this piece of garbage to face justice for what he has done. No doubt in my mind what he has done. But it does seem like the decision was made with the idea of getting as much justice as possible for Nikki, given the really crappy options that are out there right now. And I want to make it extremely clear that I am in no way trying to negate the feelings of Nikki's family and friends who feel like the system has failed her, because I cannot even imagine if I was in their shoes. And at the end of the day, I want nothing more than justice for Nikki. I wish I had the perfect answers for how to move forward. I really do, but this is kind of where we are. Now, my biggest question, I guess, is where do they go from here? If, God forbid, Nikki is never found alive to testify and there's no solid evidence proving Tyler's involvement in her disappearance, where do we go? If there's no evidence against Tyler to prove that he either abducted her or maybe even murdered her, then do they just move forward with the domestic case, even if it probably won't have a solid outcome? I mean, just so that they could try anything? Or does this guy literally get the definition of a get out of jail free card? I don't know. Now, since we're basically already talking about Tyler getting away with things, let's get into the other reason why his name was in the news, and for reasons completely unrelated, maybe, to Nikki. Apparently on July 3rd, which was just prior to Tyler's case getting dismissed, a fire started at the 1700 block of Olinda Road in Anderson, California. Nobody was arrested. However, there was one person who was cited in this incident. CAL FIRE claimed that they can share arrests, but not citations. So the whole thing was this momentary mystery until reporters, who I guess had some sort of secret knowledge, asked Tyler if he was the one who was cited. And guess what? He admitted that he was. Now, I know people who are way too into true crime like me will probably all jump into the same conclusion, right? Tyler started this fire to get rid of evidence. He told the reporters that the fire was started because he had parked his car on dry grass, and CAL FIRE actually confirmed his story by posting, quote, "The fire was sparked by a failed converter that expelled hot fragments into dry vegetation." So I guess he was telling the truth.
Well, Glenn, we now know that the fire was started here by a car left running at this property on Olinda Road. And we now have confirmed that both the car that caused the fire and this property are owned by Tyler McCain, husband of the missing Nikki McCain. McCain approached me today while I was filming the damage left behind by the fire, sharing he was cited for it. He told me he just bought a car to fix up and had left it running for a few minutes while he went to get something inside. When he returned, he says the fire was ignited.
Did he park on the dry grass on purpose, knowing that it would spark a fire to get rid of evidence? You could call it conspiracy. You could also call it strategic. I would say that my personal opinion is he is strategic, especially given the fact that Nikki disappeared before the trial was set to begin, conveniently, coincidentally, and now when your trial is set to begin and there might or might not be possible evidence, your car conveniently starts a fire. Okay. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. Conspiracy? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's strategic or just a big coincidence? I don't want to go too crazy on the conspiracy train, but guys, I mean, how many coincidences until you explain it away as no, somebody intervened in this. Now, I wish that I had more positive updates, especially about how the search for Nikki is going, which has been ongoing. And again, I really hope that the silence in all of this is due to something being kept from the public so that they can pursue a greater lead or a greater charge, and it's not just due to a bunch of dead ends. But right now, we don't really know otherwise. The main thing that we can do right now is to keep raising awareness about Nikki's case. I mean, we can't just let her name slowly fade out of the media. We need to continue to hold Shasta County accountable. So Nikki is 4'11", she has brownish reddish hair, brown eyes, and is 100 pounds. She has a floral tattoo on her left forearm. So if you or anyone you know has any information that could in the least bit be helpful at all in her case, please contact the Shasta County Sheriff's Department. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, submit a tip at secretwitness.com/submit-a-tip. But guys, please, even if Nikki unfortunately is no longer alive, whoever is responsible needs to be held accountable. So share this video everywhere you can, on your social media, on your YouTube page, in your private group chat with all your friends, because the more eyes that we get on this, we say this all the time, the more likely somebody knows something or somebody saw something. And the best thing we can hope at most right now is that Nikki returns safe and unharmed. But at the very least, that whoever did something to her, whoever you think that is, try not to give it away with my facial expressions, but that person is held responsible. And the only way it looks like that's going to happen right now is if more tips come in, more evidence comes in. So please share this everywhere you can. Thank you guys so much for hearing Nikki's story today. Please continue to share her story, and let's just pray for all of her family and friends that she is found alive, well, unharmed, and that we see some justice in this case. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will keep you updated. If not here, definitely over on the podcast through headline highlights. So grab your phone really quick, whether you're watching this on your phone, watching it on your TV, just grab your phone, type in Serialously into your podcast app, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, whatever it is, and make sure you press the button that says follow. It's totally free, but that way you will not miss any updates, not only in this case, but also other cases that we've been following and breaking cases in the week. All right, guys, thanks again. And until the next one, stay safe. Bye.